Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Kill Feed Strategy. I'm Pete, a top player in Risk Global Domination. I have a daily release on YouTube. I do weekday streams on Twitch. If you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to my channels. Come along the ride with me. If you've never played GTA, no, I've played GTA. I just never played it on stream. I got to do that for you guys at some point. But what we're doing today is we're doing a bunch of play with friends, and we're taking the opportunity to have our second interview with Isaiah Pryor from Pryor Gaming. So let's see if he is in a call. We'll just call here. We're going to do that. We're going to have the opportunity to chat and expound upon the things that we discussed in the first interview. And yeah, let's get this party started.
Yo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm decent. Yeah. What about you?
I'm great. Yeah, I started my day off with a workout. So I got that in before we started here, which is rare for me. I'm not the most active morning person, so we did it all.
You got that Sigma grind set.
Is that what
working.
it is? Am I a Sigma? I don't
Yes, you are
I don't
Sigma.
self-identify, but I'll take the compliment.
Yeah.
First things first, do you want to maybe you want me to set up a game?
Yeah.
Tell me what you'd like to play.
Honestly, what I'd like to play is Europe Advanced, like fixed with caps or no caps. So World Dom or
Okay,
or caps.
I think if we can play non-caps, then we'll get more games in, and that'll give folks in the chat more chances to play with us. So that might be more fun for the people here. But do you want, like you said, no fog, so that it's easy for people to follow? So we'll just do straight up fixed World Dom on Europe Advanced.
Yeah.
Fun. Does anyone in chat want to help us? All are okay. That's ranked. All are welcome. And make sure Isaiah gets a spot too, though. That's the code UWFMM.
Feel stupid again. Where do I enter this? Oh, I found it.
Little ABC bottom left.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, and all are welcome. We got Sam. We got XC Dude. We got Zavelzor. I like that flag, sir. All right, Isaiah. Well, to remind the people who haven't seen the first interview, who are you? Where are you? When are you? Give us your quick interview, or brief bio there.
I tend to, for some reason, be like almost loath to kind of provide an intro similar to how you do it.
Sure.
Where it's like you're providing your credibility. But I guess I'll do it this time because I don't know it's a weird mental thing. So yes, I am Isaiah. I also known as Pryor Gaming. I make Minecraft videos across platforms. I've gotten over 1 billion views and 3 million followers. Wait, how do I? I gotta think about my start here.
Take your time. And while he's thinking, I can just say I absolutely share that sentiment. Right, it took me a while to settle on my intro, and I don't want it to be too self-aggrandizing, which is actually why I ended up saying, I like I am a top player because it's the fewest possible words with the least amount of embellishment. Right, I'm not trying to impress anyone, but at the same time, I am trying to accurately introduce myself to someone who might be new. Okay, we've made a turn.
So today, it's a bit of a follow-up to the previous interview in the sense that we are going to be covering some of the same topics again, like God and religion. And
my favorite.
Once again, where neither of us are experts, but so a lot of it is opinion, or at least I'd say I'm not an expert. I probably shouldn't speak for you.
Oh, I certainly don't pretend to be an expert in matters of religion.
Yeah.
Okay. So you make video game content.
Mm-hmm.
You reached out to me, what was it, say 3 months ago?
Somewhere around there.
To chat? And what was it about our first experience that made you feel like you wanted to follow up?
Part of it is well, I wanted to, because like I love, like, these conversations help me think through a lot of these things myself to a deeper level than I normally would.
Indeed.
And part of the impetus for actually like reaching out to you was I saw some negative comments and let it get in my head a little too much. I'm like, I have to redeem myself.
After this much success that you've experienced on YouTube, you still let those negative comments get to you, huh?
You'd be surprised how few negative comments I get.
Oh, that's lovely. No, that's really nice. I'm envious almost.
And then at the same time, no, I'm not gonna go for it. I'll be patient. I don't like that green has so much bonus right now.
It's not good. It's very scary. How could you be so greedy, Chad? Yeah, about the negativity on YouTube, it's such a trope, right? It's like YouTube is a cesspool, but I do kind of share what you're saying, and then every time I get an influx of negativity, I'm reminded that just probably means I'm being shown to new people. So
Yeah.
I take it as a good thing.
Yeah.
Well,
what's
what's his YouTube? I would love to support him. Yeah, let's do that. Let's link the YouTube channel. It's at Prior Gaming, right?
Yes.
I'll just play my turn and then find it on YouTube. So you got some negative comments. You're like, well, they might be misrepresenting my opinion. I would like to clear the air.
Part of it, and also it was like I realized that I was a bit slow thinking, and my words didn't flow as much as I wanted to. So a lot of people said, a lot of people, like 2 or 3 comments were like, "He's boring." I'm like, I'm not boring.
He's boring. Wait, no, that's not me. Right? Absolutely.
And I think I was already like almost slightly not insecure, but like I wasn't super happy with how I came across. So then that almost like, I don't know, whatever. So I feel like I normally have thicker skin, but then whatever. It is what it is.
Well, the reason I start with the why is that's kind of a throwback from philosophy, right? And if we can understand why we are having this conversation, then I can actually strive to do a better job, right? If I know what our goal is, right, then I can seek to meet it. So that's why I sort of lead with that. So what is it that you are seeking today?
I suppose just to continue the conversation. I mean, as I said, like the impetus was a little bit of wanting to redeem myself, but that's not necessarily the primary motivation. The primary motivation is like I already wanted to continue this conversation because I with the topics of God and religion being so vast and deep, like, we're not going to cover it in a single live stream. Like we barely even scratched the surface.
Mm-hmm. So what was on the top of your mind that you wanted to get to?
Right. So we should maybe just jump in then. So one thing that I noticed is we never really jumped into like why you have adopted the panentheistic view of God. So like why do you believe that God exists? And like how do you jump to make that jump to like panentheism?
Sure. Okay. So panentheism defined as God is present in all creation by virtue of his omnipotence and omnipresence, sustaining every creature in being without being identified with any creature. That actually is a really good definition, but I like to dumb it down sometimes. I like to use more colloquial language. So, and it's accurate. I didn't know that there was a term for the way in which I believed, but there is, and it's called panentheism. So that is, thank you for educating me on that one. So I think we are all Like if God is infinite, then God is equivalent with the entire universe. So we are all, as conscious beings, tiny pieces of that infinity. And the experiences I've had in my life that show me that that is likely true, or at least another way of putting it is that is true enough for me to believe it, is that human beings have access to the infinite power of creation, in the sense that we, as organisms, are the being that invents, right? So we are the one organism whose entire ecological niche. Do you know the term ecological niche in biology?
Mm, I
Do you,
can.
you can infer it, right?
Yeah.
So a niche, think about like a whale. So in order for a baleen whale has evolved baleen, which are these filter feeding plates made out of keratin. And what it does is it runs through the water and it filters out the krill, which are these tiny crustaceans, out from the seawater and the other gunk and whatever that it can't eat. So in order for a baleen whale to evolve, an ecological niche of those krill must exist in the first place, right? So one is subordinate
Yeah.
to the other, or superordinate, right? And what we do as humans, right? If the human animal, our ecological niche is that of mind. We invent and we innovate. We create things that don't exist in our environment to then adapt our environment to us. And we do that on a species level. We do that as an organism. Chad's trying to force some action. So the where I connect that to my sort of system of belief is that indicates to me that we have access to infinity, despite not being able to wield it fully. We are a tiny conduit by which the power of infinity does actually meet the rubber of infinity does meet the road of the world, so to speak, right? And I like sort of how my approach uses a little bit of science, right? It's not entirely up to faith. It's not entirely up to the word of someone many thousands of years ago. It's not entirely up to any one person's opinion, but rather it uses our best understanding of what we are scientifically to try and integrate the unknowable, right? The infinite spiritual. Because for much of my life I was atheist, and then for much of my life I was agnostic. And I only came to a place of belief, even in that way, in that limited way, because of, well, the process associated with, I don't want to say curing, but effectively managing my lifelong depression. Right, I sat with ayahuasca. Have you ever heard of ayahuasca?
Yeah.
Okay, so I sat with ayahuasca. I met Madre. They treat it as like the grandmother spirit. And from that point on, it was hard for me to stay in a completely agnostic worldview, because I had viscerally experienced something that I had no ability to quantify or explain or justify, and I experienced it in a way that I'm not going to say I was saved. You know, I don't feel like I've been born again, but I experienced it in a way that was transformative, right? I'd say I no longer hate myself, and that's pretty significant in everything you do. There's my answer.
That's funny. I actually was gonna mention psychedelics in our conversation.
I love it. Yeah, well, I could talk about that forever too. Hey, thank you, Ditto. 1,000 bits is very generous. Thanks, man. Making my life and the lives of countless others better, just being you. See, this is the other thing why we do this. I'm sure you get this a ton too, right? Making other people's lives better. It's like, it's so easy to underestimate the impact of the content, right? Just entertainment, or, you know, whatever we provide is. Thank you. Thank you for the the support there, man.
I don't really think about it that way of making people's lives better because to me it's just entertainment. I don't know if that actually improves their lives.
You think entertainment is morally neutral?
Sometimes it can be morally negative if it's pulling people
Yeah,
away
for sure.
from
If it's
positive.
addictive, yeah. No, hey, there's all sorts of trade-offs. I juxtapose what I do now against what I did before. And I think what I did before, maintaining properties, is about as morally neutral as you can get. Like, gardens are
Mm,
enjoyed by people, they're beautiful, but at the same time, right, grass is very wasteful. Our current land usage is very wasteful. This land could be used to grow food, let's say, or whatever. But I always kind of rationalized it as, well, if I'm not doing it, someone else will.
mm,
Whereas with this, I do think what I'm doing is a net positive, just because I'm very actively talking about not just risk strategy, which I guess does help people in their game, but I do like when these types of conversations come up about mental health. I'm just like, listen, I'm not a mental health professional. If you need professional help, I'm not a doctor. If you need therapy, if you need medicine, I get it. But a big part of mental health is just talking about it honestly with people who care about you.
yeah.
But did we leave behind where you actually wanted to be? The why. Oh, he's playing his turn. The why. Why do I believe? Why do you believe?
In God
Sure.
specifically?
Sure, yeah. Why do you believe what you believe?
Well, I mean that's I feel like I can't really wrap it up in a ribbon as much as you did because it's not really one. Well, I'm sure you have more than just one reason. I'm not trying to
Yeah,
insinuate that
absolutely.
it is. Um, but I mean, it's just like from everything I've read and experienced, it seems like the most likely explanation of the world as it is, uh, and the existence of Scripture in the way it is, hints towards God as an agential, omnipotent, omnipresent, perfectly good being. So yeah,
So may I pick at two parts about that?
sure.
Okay, so the reason Scripture doesn't appeal to me, and I think this is mostly a personality thing. I don't care about anyone else's opinion. Not that it doesn't matter. Other people matter and their opinions matter. But I've never been the type of person who allows other people's opinion to really define my identity. So Scripture might be compelling. No, not might be. Scripture certainly is compelling, right? Scripture speaks to all sorts of people in all sorts of very powerful ways. And I'm not trying to discount that, but it doesn't speak to me in the sense that the fact of its existence is not self-justifying. So I can say, yes, Scripture, and of all of the different religions too, right? It's difficult to account for the fact that there is a scriptural tradition in all sorts of different opposing sets of beliefs, right? So that one
Yeah.
is where it falls flat for me. But the other thing you said, the perfect goodness, right? That one completely fails, right? I can't fathom how say children get cancer in a model of a worldview where there is perfect goodness. Those two things seem fundamentally incompatible.
Problem of evil, I see.
Right.
Is
But
that the main
not just
primary issue that you have with Christianity?
I don't have an issue with Christianity any more so than I have an issue with any other religion, right?
Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't discriminate. It was an issue more with the specific thing you said, right? If it is true that God is omnipotent and perfectly good, then we would live in a fundamentally different reality than the one that we do, right? That does not seem to be borne out logically, right? The world we live in contains, from my viewpoint, equal parts good and evil. And I don't think it presupposes a good God. it just my worldview just presupposes a infinite God, an indifferent, perhaps infinite God, because infinity doesn't care about what we care about, right? We're defining good in our own very limited terms.
So what do you think about the free will defense?
I don't think we have free will.
Yeah, that I am aware of that. I know you have a deterministic mindset.
Right, right. Yeah.
But like conceptually,
Mm.
say if it could be argued that we have free will, do you think that would be, or how valid or how powerful of an argument would you evaluate that to be against that exact thing you just said?
So, in order for something to be evil, we must choose to do evil?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm trying to model your position. So
Okay,
the
so
question you're asking is, the definition of evil in this schema requires a person to intend on doing evil. Yeah, that's free will. Free will. You freely intend on causing harm. Therefore, you are evil.
not okay. So let me just. I'm a
Please.
little lost about what you mean. So the free will defense is basically the reason that an all-powerful, perfectly good, omniscient God would allow evil to exist in the world is because the consequences of our actions of having free will, like it is a requirement, because otherwise, like, we don't have free will if we can't experience the consequence of our actions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's essentially it.
Well, we can experience the consequence of our actions. The way in which I feel we are not free to choose is we are free to choose between that which we want and that which we don't want. We seem obviously free to choose that. We don't seem free to choose what we want.
Yeah,
We simply have desire. So I don't know what the source of that desire is. I wouldn't choose to want to eat more food than is healthy for me. You know, I happen to. I happen to want to eat all sorts of junk food, right? And drink all sorts of booze and get fat, right? But I wouldn't choose that. So I don't feel free in that way. So that's again what I'm saying is it just seems inconsistent with my experience. Is that I don't need to argue that we have free will because it doesn't appear that we do.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is an interesting discussion, the whole subject of if we have free will. But I suppose in this particular situation, I'm not necessarily looking to evaluate, like, do we have free will? But if we did, what is green gonna hit my stack? I'm not trying to stack there. I'm just
He's running out of cards. Let's card block him. Wait, I didn't say that out loud. I love your chat.
On my dime. I'm not using up my troops for that.
No, obviously not. No one is. This is the tragedy of the commons.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm happy to stay on task. What is the specific question that we were trying to get to?
Right. So, like, imagine we have free will.
Yep.
Or, I mean, whatever that would look like. Which, I mean, I believe we have free will, which I'll kind of get into a little later. Imagine we have free will, and it's important that we have free will because God wants us to freely choose to have relationship with Him. So,
wait, why?
Because the whole crux of Christianity is that God loves us so much that, like, I mean, he created us to specifically to have a relationship with us within Christianity. That's like the core,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where everything stems from.
Yeah, but like, so this is exactly where this kind of worldview loses me completely, because I empathize with God here, and I say if I was truly omnipotent, omniscient, and good, the last thing I would give a shit about is whether or not you believed, whether or not
Yeah.
some ant believed in me or not. It just seems like such a weak form. Why does God care?
Well, actually, God doesn't care if you quote unquote believe in him or believe that he
Okay,
exists.
okay,
I would not. I think a lot of people get that mistaken.
okay.
Because a lot of Christians will say that it's just about believing that God exists. But
Mm.
there's a verse that says like, let me see. There's a verse that says like even the demons believe that God exists and they shudder. Like to believe or have faith is not necessarily um, to kind of like be sure that God exists, but rather it's trust in his promises. So it's like it's a step beyond like I believe that he exists. It's like I believe that what he has promised us of like eternal life and salvation um is like he's faithful to his word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, and that's very, self self fulfilling. If you believe it, then good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I often come to, is that like if your system of belief is beneficial to you and beneficial to your community, then it's good. That's how I define the goodness in these sort of systems. But they seem, self contradictory or self fulfilling. A little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah, commenter was putting it a certain way. That's why God gave us the ability to deny him. If we
Mm.
couldn't make a choice, then our worship wouldn't mean anything. And yes, you could I do get the what you're saying about like, well, why does he care?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean like I don't think anyone would know why God would care about what finite like if finite beings care about him. But like according to scripture he does. Like yeah. Can't really peek into the mind of God.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Like I don't presume to have the ability to fully empathize with the infinite. It's just I suppose, the way in which power works in my mind, right? The thought of omnipotence seems incongruent with a being of that ability concerning themselves with me at all, right? I think it's self-aggrandizing, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like it sounds like something the ego of a small man would cook up, right?
Yeah.
And then write that into scripture. It's like, yes, I am so important that God cares about my opinion and my action. It's like, no, you're not. You're an ape. You don't matter to anyone other than you and your family. You don't matter in the grand scheme of things. You will die, and you're grasping at straws to conceptualize the infinite. Um, and this is one way that you are, subconsciously patting yourself on the back, and it's powerful. It's lasted for tens of thousands of years. So I'm not here to presume that there isn't a ton of like serious merit in that worldview and that way of thinking, right? It just doesn't seem to me to be coherent enough. Like I think I mentioned the story of Abraham and Isaac, right, last time.
We'll definitely dive into that
Okay,
after.
you want to go there too. Great, 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 great. I'm not trying to derail you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely empathize with that view that it is like self-aggrandizing or but at the same time, like within Christianity, the only reason we have inherent value um is because of God, or because God loves us. Outside of that, like we're essentially worthless, and we're just like, you know, little bags of meat, as you so lovingly described humans.
I don't do it. See, I don't condescend to cause harm or offense.
Yeah.
Right? I think I condescend to put it into a little bit more humility. I think it's very easy for us to lean into our ego. I really just don't think people are all that divine. You know, we are a tiny piece of that, and we can access it in a tiny way. But I think it's very important. I think it's very useful to keep your own insignificance in mind, right? To keep your ego in check. I found, at least personally, I found my ego is enormous, right? I tend towards massive arrogance. So I do a lot of little tricks, and I have a lot of heuristics to try and keep that in check. What do you think about that?
Sorry, what was like? I caught the last part, but I think I got a little distracted by gameplay. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine.
What was like the TLDR?
The TLDR is we love to tell ourselves stories that make us seem like the hero. And I notice my mind, post hoc rationalization, I notice my mind doing it. Your mind does it. We all do it. And it's a direct enemy of earnest seeking of truth. And I would like to be informed by both. I enjoy a nice little story that makes me sound like the hero, but I definitely also want to know what's actually going on. Right? Oh.
Let's go. We get to see some action.
Oh, Chad's going to break everybody's bonus now. Don't break mine, Chad.
I think he's just hitting people who can't hit him back.
Oh, he can hit him back now.
Oh, I see. I'm gonna bring my stack out.
Oh boy. See some action, folks.
Yeah, so I actually wouldn't characterize scripture as self-aggrandizing, because the way humans are construed, it's like we're little worms, and we're in such dire need of salvation because of our insignificance and imperfection. And that is a very harsh way to put it. But
that doesn't seem harsh to me. It seems kind of accurate.
Yeah.
But that's not the part I'm taking exception with, right? The part I'm taking exception with is, given that, why does God care?
Yeah. Yeah, that is once again, yeah, we can't really say why, because I mean, it's God. It's yeah. Can't see into the mind of God.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm happy to say we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know is a very acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Barack. But the something else you said, the problem of evil. How do you define the problem of evil then?
So it's basically just like, if God is all these things, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and agential, and perfectly good, then why does he allow evil? It was you summarized it earlier. It is probably the atheistic argument.
Okay, like you think that's the best argument against?
Yes, okay. And according to a tier list I saw on YouTube by Alex O'Connor, and someone else, they put that in S tier because it's so like it's like the quintessential atheistic argument. It's just like it's trying to point out, or yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, did we mention the banality of evil when we spoke? There's another framework that I think more accurately sort of models how evil is manifest in the world.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so there's a German American philosopher. Her name is Hannah Arendt, and she wrote her famous book is The Banality of Evil. So evil is banal in the sense that true evil is not, the bombastic mustache twirling Disney villain. Rather, true evil is the officious pencil pushing Nazi stamping the card that sent all those people to death in the gas chambers, and that is that's realistically the way I think most evil works. Like, yeah, there's obviously psychopathy, and there's obviously very horrible people that do very horrible things, and I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm not trying to say those people aren't more evil people than good, but what I'm saying with this modeling is, and what Hannah is saying with this modeling is, you take the example of, a child dying of cancer. There's no agency there. There's no villain there. There's just punishment, right? There's just misery, and it's banal, and it's common, and it's frequent, and it's normal, and it's the world we live in, right? The world of true evil, where that child couldn't possibly deserve it, right?
Yeah.
So we don't live in a fair world. We don't live in a just world. I don't think we live in a good world, right? So all of those characterizations of the omnipotent, agential, good God fall flat in that way to me.
Yeah, that is a major point of the problem of evil that's often brought up. It's what is a specific term for it? It's evil that has no I guess has no villain. It's not directly I mean, there's like natural evils like earthquakes, so that's another route you can go down. It's like, well, if a tree falls on a deer in the middle of the forest, does it deserve to be like suffering until its death? Like, how did it yeah, whatever. So there's a lot of facets that can go down, and generally, like, I'm not super well versed on fighting all these objections or addressing all these objections, but generally, like, my immediate response is to be like, well, it's all the consequence of original sin.
Mm-hmm.
And some Christians aren't a big fan of the concept of original sin because to them, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Because it can be up for interpretation to a degree, I guess. I don't know. I get to a point where I start to like lose my steam during streams.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
We're in no rush here. We're just chilling, playing a game.
Yeah.
There was I assume you have like a couple of bullet points. You have things that you wanted to get to.
Couple. I prepared a lot just because like.
Oh, great. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
All right. Well, after my turn, I'll pull it up.
I'm gonna get another coffee actually. So BRB.
Okay. Yo, what's up, chat? Codester Cox has been going crazy in chat with saying a bunch of stuff. Um, yeah, that's a lot. Bro, I love Risk. Yes. Welcome, Energize. What's up, New Curved Republic? Sorry, you got my brain working. Nah, don't be sorry. I appreciate all these topics being discussed.
All right,
You know, it's nice.
We back, baby.
Yo, welcome back.
Okay. We've recombobulated.
Yes.
What was the next thing on your mind?
All right, so let's start off with some questions. We've already jumped into the discussion, so I'll skip over the non-theological questions. I guess the more funsies. Okay, I guess we covered why do you believe that God exists? Yeah, it was the first question that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So,
did you like my answer?
Yeah. I think it's a very fun answer. I know that's a weird way to characterize answering why you believe God exists, but like it's very neat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did come to it after much searching.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't expect it would be from a psychedelic experience, but that's fun.
I would say it's more that's the straw. You know, I was always more or less on the fence, but the straw that pushed me more towards belief over non-belief was it became very real that the story I'm being told about physical reality being the end-all, be-all of being just was incomplete.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely share common ground there. Yeah, so okay, so before I answer, I have this one question, but I think I should probably preface it with a different question. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that you characterize God is that we as humans all have the power of God because of our ability to create and think things into existence, and we make up God like a giant hive mind, in a sense, which I actually agree with, even from a Christian perspective. Not necessarily that, you know, like because we do have independence from one another, but yeah, like insanity is distance from one another, or not. Sorry, not or a lack of communication, I guess.
Okay.
Because I mean that's how you go insane is be solitary. Uh, um. So, but we're limited. So that makes us distinct from God. So if God is the sum of his parts and his parts are limited, we're very limited, then isn't God limited? Like, or does he make up more than just like us as humans? Does most pantheists will say that God is greater than the universe?
As far as I can tell, the thing that makes sense would be that God is the universe, right? Not greater, not less, just all. We are talking about the subjective experience, the individualistic experience of everything. So in order to have a complete model of that, you would need limitation, right? You'd actually need infinite limitation, which is another kind of a paradoxical way to think about it.
Okay, so bro, why is this dude hitting more than he needs to?
Because he's trying to piss you off.
Yeah.
Chad is I've seen Chad play like this, and I don't think he enjoys stalemates, but
Yeah,
he also without figuring out a way to force the action, or rather without someone else trying to help him, he's trying to figure out a way to force some action.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell he's been acting super impatient this entire game.
Is he aggressively sending you thumbs down?
No, he's just like, just breaking people, then hitting more than he needs to.
I like it. Someone has to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I like it when people start stuff, except for when they start hitting me. That's when I don't like it.
What? That seems very biased.
What? What? Yeah.
I do, however, share that opinion. So,
Gotcha.
I also like winning games without having to really try. I was like,
Yeah,
try as I might to set up a game that wouldn't stay away with this infinite stalemate.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get decent players in the game.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm so used to playing against noobs, and like those games often will be less than 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm definitely surprised that you believe that God is I guess so you believe that he's like I mean the universe is limited. So did you not say that you believe that God has no limit?
Well, so here's the thing. We don't know that the universe. Oh my goodness. Are you going to stand for that?
Good.
We don't know that the universe is limited. We don't know that the universe is not limited. We just simply don't know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come in on it. I say something like, the way I conceptualize God as equivalent to everything. Whatever everything is, you know?
Yeah.
There is imagine an equation, and that equation represents all of existence. And then in order to understand that, you break it up.
Mm.
In order for that existence to be meaningful in any way, in order for it to not just be that flat sum, that one equation, in order for there to be color and shapes and sizes and love and hate, right? And beauty and horror, right? In order for all of that to exist, it cannot just be the singularity. It cannot be that point before existence sprung forth. That's what I think.
So you think to summarize in my own words,
Sure.
you think that God, or basically the universe and God, has infinite depth, and so that's why it's infinite.
Depth. What do you mean by depth?
Kind of like this. I'm just gonna. I'm not taking that.
Oh, you're gonna smack
Not
a
from
stack?
White.
Oh, not for white. Okay. Wow.
I don't.
Oh, now
green is.
now we're stirring it up.
Classic.
Now we're really stirring. Holy shit!
That's so funny. Does he even want to win? He's just like.
I think he might want to play a new game. Sure, Chad. That's definitely gonna fucking. He's totally gonna stand for that.
Pink's gonna move his stack, and then Black's just gonna kill him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right. Obviously, I'm gonna break White and take back my. Okay, White. If you do that one more time, I'm gonna kill you.
So,
anyways,
I just want to say one thing to the chat. If you guys are noticing what Isaiah is doing, you guys probably have experienced this type of conversation becoming hostile, or fraught, or confused. And one thing he's doing specifically that is helping it not become that way is he's listening to what I'm saying, and then he's trying to reframe it. He's trying to say, when you said this, is this what you meant? And then we can agree. And the process of doing that helps overcome what I would say is kind of like a fundamental flaw in language, right? Is that we don't all know. We can't read minds, right? So we don't know what each other are thinking. And then we have this language which is imperfect. So I commend you, sir, for your methodology. And I just wanted to point it out that the process of, hey, when you said this, is this what you meant, is actually how we come to meaning and understanding as people. And GG chat. would have thought that the instigator gets lowest?
You gonna kill him?
Should I?
It's up to you.
Nah. He's
If you don't, I will.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I like kills.
Yeah, I like killing people. It feels good. No, I would never. We're allies, though. I would never kill my homie. What do you mean?
Mine. No.
There's this creature that stayed on cab. Whoops.
Remember, White, if you hit me, I'm gonna...
Oh!
Okay.
Holy
You're
crap.
done, White.
Holy crap! Sam!
I guess you get to win. Congrats, Pete.
Do I?
I mean, if I hit White, then... Well, I guess Pink is still a major threat.
Oh, I'm not counting my chickens yet, sir.
Mm. What is this dude doing?
Ditto said, I like Bo Burnham's take on religion in his song God's Perspective. I especially love the notion that maybe God exists, maybe he doesn't, but regardless of which is true, life will go on, and we shouldn't make the most of our lives. Or rather, we should make the most of our lives as much as we can in his words. But maybe life on earth could be heaven. Doesn't just the thought of it make it worth a try? Yeah, I like that too.
Kind of like a John Lennon kind of thing.
Sure, sure. Oh yeah, you're killing him. Excellent. Death.
I don't know if I'm killing him.
No?
Because I don't even know if I have like the troops.
You mean to tell me you're gonna let him get away with that?
I'm just gonna take some territory.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so right, so we were talking about you're saying like the world, or sorry, what has infinite depth?
Well, yeah, okay.
Or,
So
sorry.
you said depth, and I want to know what you mean when you say
Oh,
depth.
right.
What does depth mean here?
Gotcha. So take for example you take the distance between 2 points on a ruler, and you half that, then you half that, then you half that, and then like I don't think that goes on ad infinitum. I think
Oh, no?
Right. No.
Okay. Because why not?
Because I think you hit a point where there's not more space. I could be wrong.
Well, we're not talking about more space. We're not actually adding space in that way of understanding it. We are just looking at it at a deeper resolution. So I guess, yeah, depth is the right word, but now I at least understand what you mean. So yeah, I think the scale of the universe is infinite in both directions.
Yeah.
I think the world is infinitely deep and infinitely large. But I don't have any evidence for that. I can't argue that to be true. I just think that's just what my intuition sort of goes to. It's like, yeah, that's probably true. Right? That with more and more powerful microscopes, we can look at things that are smaller and smaller, and with more and more powerful telescopes, we could look at things that are larger and larger.
Yeah. I tend to I personally don't believe. I mean, I think I said this already, but yeah, I personally don't believe in infinites, like actual infinites. It makes sense in mathematics, but
isn't mathematics sort of the most true thing that we can talk about uncontroversially?
Yes, but because like math is fascinating because it's obviously because you're able to, like, it's such an accurate reflection of reality for being something so abstract. Like that's insane. Did you just open it up to hit me or no?
I don't want anyone hitting you. We're
okay.
Doesn't this mean anything to you, man?
Sorry. I thought he was white for a second, and I forgot that white isn't aggroing me anymore. My brain doesn't work. Yeah. honestly, I'm not too familiar, or it's the conversation of infinites is very out of my league, so I'm actually just gonna take a step back from that.
Sounds good. Where are we going now?
Right. So it's kind of a follow-up to the thing about pantheism. So what would have to change in your view to qualify God as non-existent? Or does your understanding of God exist by necessity, similar to Dr. Jordan Peterson's understanding of God as just the ultimate good? In other words, if we are all pockets of God, so to speak, does God just exist in a symbolic fashion, since he doesn't necessarily have consciousness, like agency?
Give that to me again.
So the main thing, the TLDR, is like, what would have to change to qualify your version of God as non-existent?
What would have to change for me to not believe?
Not necessarily to not believe, but like for him to does he exist by necessity? Like,
No,
just
certainly
logically?
not. No, I don't
Okay.
I don't play that game.
Okay.
I don't conflate logic with faith. Right? I'm fully, when I am talking about how I conceptualize God, I'm fully recognizing that I am giving you a personal opinion with no evidence. Right? I hate the conflation of the use of the word evidence, the use of logic, right? The attempt to measure or justify or prove God. I've always found that to be a hollow waste of people's times at best, and directly disrespectful at worst, right? It just sounds like a bunch of people on either side who inflappably think they're right and won't bend, arguing past each other, right? What I say is I recognize that I am engaging in a superstition, and I do so willingly despite that fact, because it is beneficial to me. The steel. Wow.
Wonder why it's gonna take that.
Yeah, Sam, you're gonna Sam's not gonna put up with that, is he?
Can't really hit him back.
Kind of. I'm not so sure about
Yeah,
that.
I guess no, he can break his bonuses, but he can't like.
Oh, you
smack
can
him
always
hard.
smack. You can always smack stacks in this game.
Oh, I
It's
guess
nice and open. There's no blizzards, right? It's nice and open.
Yeah. Oh, there's no blizzards. I didn't even realize that. I normally prefer blizzards. I like the randomness.
So, in retrospect, I should have chosen blizzards, because I think blizzards with fixed world dom would have made a game end.
Yeah.
But how much game do you want to play versus how much like mental energy do you want to spend on this conversation? Because it is kind of taxing. But I think we've been doing good. What else? What else do you got?
Yeah. So, I don't. Did you? We didn't really. Or I don't. To be honest, I don't think you quite like answered the question of like
Go ahead.
what would have to change. I don't know if I didn't explain it right.
What would we have to change? Nothing. Like, I don't think that
for him to not exist.
Okay, so the reason I think I failed to answer it is because I think it's a bad question. And it's a bad question because science is not a method of proof. Right? People often make this mistake as well. It's like, well, science has proven XYZ thing. No, science can't prove anything, ever.
Yeah.
The only thing science can do is disprove things. It can say what isn't. It's a method of falsifiability. So that is how I come to answer your question here, right? What would need to occur to disprove God? I don't know. That's probably equivalently impossible.
Okay, but conceptually, like your understanding of God, like assume like beyond of a shadow of a doubt that God in that way exists. Like we are all pockets of God.
Yep.
I'm
like
conceptually,
now. I've been proven by some miracle. I've been proven right in my belief, and I know for a fact that it is true.
Yeah.
Right? And then your question is, given that, what would need to occur for it to not be true? Reality would have to then change again. It would have to be fundamentally different. I don't understand perhaps the question well enough to answer it.
Not necessarily like, okay, so so like Jordan Peterson's understanding of God
Thank you,
is
RJ.
like, you know, God
Thank
is
you,
the
thank you,
ultimate
thank you.
good. You literally, I mean, as you understand, like in his view, with his view, God unavoidably exists. Like there's no reality in which God doesn't exist unless like there's no good or evil, which yeah, I guess in that situation, like the answer to that, if you ask that to him, it would be, well, evil would have to, or good and evil would have to stop existing, and then God would, as like a metaphor, would stop existing. And so I'm kind of thinking of that for like it almost seems like, to me personally, it seems like a panentheistic God unavoidably exists because it's like, okay, yeah, I agree. Like, how would I deny that? Okay, we are all like, we are kind of a bit of a hive mind. Like, I I honestly find it hard to pick bits off of that because I, I'm not saying this right, but do you get what I mean?
No, finish one sentence.
Um. So
You think the panentheistic perspective is also self-justifying?
no, not necessarily self-justifying. It's like it's like logically
Thank you, Chad.
um it's logically unavoidably existent. Mm, we may have to come back to that because I don't know how to properly explain what I mean.
Okay.
Um okay, so interesting. So here's my next question. If there's no afterlife as you see it, then why live? Without an agential God, every single thing you do holds no inherent meaning, or at least I would posit that, because everything you ever touch will fade.
Mm-hmm.
Every memory of you will fade. Like, who cares what you do if it has no impact, like thousands or
great
hundreds
question.
of thousands of years
Yeah.
from now?
So I actually think the fact of our life being temporary and the fact of our limitation is the thing that imbues it with meaning.
Okay.
Yeah. So we look at the same analysis and we come to opposite conclusions here, right? Your argument, and please feel free to refine it if I'm misrepresenting, is that the fact that there is a heaven to strive for is one of the most meaningful ways in which our what is one of the ways in which gives our actions in this world the most possible meaning, right? Because while we are alive, we can do some good, but while we are, but if we do good, then we have access to infinite, if infinite heaven, right? Which would certainly be better.
Okay.
So this is why, this is the rationale, right? It's like the carrot and the stick approach, basically. You know, if you do good, then you will be rewarded, and if you do bad, then you will be punished, right? And sort of for me, I think I think that occurs, but I think that occurs. We don't need supernatural for that to occur. We don't need an afterlife, right? That occurs. Bad people are punished for their badness.
Yeah.
Yeah, in their life, and vice versa. It has been proven to me beyond a shadow of doubt that the more good I do, the more good I receive. So even as a self-motivated, selfish person, right? I'm strongly incentivized to do good, because I have enough data points now to suggest that it comes back to me in spades.
I would really push back on that.
Okay.
So, what about, so to me that has the presupposition that life is preferable to death.
Mm-hmm.
For some people,
I do presuppose this, yes, and I presuppose that for a specific reason, right? I'm still here. I'm choosing life every day. and so are you,
Yeah.
and so is everyone who's alive.
Yeah.
So I think that's a reasonable presupposition. No?
It's not always super obvious. I've been there when I wouldn't necessarily make that assumption.
No, what am I missing?
Because what if, so take, for example, your life is in just a complete state of suffering. Every day is like a nightmare that you're just waiting to wake up from. Would it be wrong for them to take their lives?
Yeah, the euthanasia argument. I think there are absolutely cases where euthanasia is justified. Right? In the case of immense suffering, in the case where life is, where not even death is preferable to life, but it is more just the ending of the suffering is preferable to the suffering. And I don't want to. I can tell a personal story just briefly. Is my grandmother. So my mom is Dutch, and the Netherlands has always been fairly progressive in these sorts of ways. So with like the drug laws is like the quintessential example. But my grandmother had had thyroid cancer, so she had a tumor growing in her throat that would eventually asphyxiate her, but not before also making it really difficult to eat. And right, it was just growing and growing and growing. It was going to kill her. So at what point, do you choose to take agency over the ending of your life? And I wanted to bring up this specific example that is close to my heart, because I don't want to talk about euthanasia it's a tough subject, right?
Yeah.
We love our lives, we love our loved ones, and we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings with any part of this conversation. So that's why I'm using one specific example and a personal example, right? I want to show you guys all that this sort of question is academic, perhaps, but it also touches all of us. And in my specific case, in the story that I was told by my mom, right, this is the merciful end. Maybe you don't agree. Maybe you would say, well, why not fight for every last breath or gasp or whatever? I think there is such a thing as quality over quantity at a certain extent. And where we draw the line might be personal. It might be up to you. And I like that, right? I don't like other people telling me what I can do with my body. I take umbrage with that notion. It's my body, please. Please give me at least some. If I am free to choose anything, please at least give me some semblance of that freedom.
Yeah.
What do you think there? Are you more of a absolutist in that way?
In what way specifically?
Is euthanasia always wrong? Do you go to hell? Is my grandmother in hell because of that? You know what I mean? Like,
okay, two things there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like your actions. Okay, so faith and the ability to go to heaven isn't through works or what you did good or wrong. It's accepting forgiveness for your sins and then seeking to to change your ways. And it's not necessarily the change of your ways, but like that desire and understanding of what you have done wrong or the ways you have shortcomings. And then I think like the example of your grandmother, like that is a good argument in support of euthanasia, or at least in specific circumstances, because yes, I think that was the right thing to do there, because it like what if yeah.
Moreover,
it's like putting your animal down.
Let's even take it to a slightly different endpoint, right? Whether or not it was the right thing to do, I just like that it was her choice. Right?
Why?
Because if I matter, if I matter to you, if I matter to me, if I matter to the world, and if I matter to God, then wouldn't it be that, the only thing that makes me matter is my freedom to choose something like that? I have to be able to. Otherwise, I can't matter. Otherwise, otherwise, the world is truly just deterministic, right? I'm just a billiard ball bouncing from one end of the table to the other.
I was gonna question the. It's like, oh, why do you care so much about choice? But I mean, I suppose that's core to Christianity.
Right, but
Because it's
it
like,
seems inconsistent with what I was saying, right? How do you
what do you
feel?
mean?
How do you feel? Like it seems I seem self-contradictory when I say things like I don't actually believe in free will, but also the freedom to
Yeah,
choose
yeah.
something like that is
I
the
was
only
gonna
thing that
touch
really
on
matters.
that.
No, it does seem self-contradictory. Yeah, I don't really know how to reconcile that.
That's fair.
I think the ways in which the world seems deterministic to me is on a sort of thermodynamics level, right? The laws of physics, but then on a quantum level, the world seems more non-deterministic, right? Like reality becomes fuzzier and
Yeah.
right, if you observe it, then it is, but if you do not observe it, then it is something else.
Yeah, that's a bit of a brain destroyer situation. It's hard to really think that through.
Well, you are now in the lead by a lot. What are you planning on doing with those extra troops? Just chilling and letting us kill each other?
Yeah, I'm just
Yep.
gonna play it patient.
Yep. I would do the same, frankly.
If someone hits me, then I'm just gonna kill them. But yeah, this is just how I'm playing it. Yeah. So right, where were we? Yeah. So one thing I was trying to say last stream, but I lost my train of thought. Then I had a lot less mental clarity last stream.
Okay.
Bro, what is it? This dude's trying to get y'all to team on me. All right, if you keep doing that, I'm just gonna kill you. Okay. Okay, buddy.
Buddy.
Yeah, I just buddied him.
Whoa.
I know. I'm serious. Okay. He heard me and now he wants to smoke.
He does. It sounds like he wants to smoke. Are you gonna give it to him?
Hmm. Let me see. Yeah, so yeah, what I was trying to say last stream was like I like how you're honest about the implications of your beliefs, even if like a lot of them can be a tough pill to swallow, in my opinion. Oh, he's trying to card block me. That's what he's trying to do.
Cards?
I don't think he's gonna hit me.
But it's fixed. Oh, I think he's gonna hit you.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Hey, welcome in, Ty Willie. Welcome.
Let's play this game.
Oh no! We're playing chicken with stacks that are very, very large.
But I left my 40 there so I can
Defend your bonus.
Yeah. No one gets my bonus.
Oh wow, we check. We check that.
Okay. Well, he's gonna get the smoke.
All right.
I probably shouldn't be saying what I'm gonna do, because that's gonna inform your moves and White's moves. But
No. Please continue to tell on yourself. For what it's worth, I wouldn't put up with it either.
yeah. Trying to heart me, but I don't know what he's doing. White is lined up on my border. What are you doing, dog?
Oh wow. Don't worry. Next time will be Prague. It was definitely the fixed world dog with no contour to this board.
Gotcha. Yeah, so
Ooh, you let them card block you? Wow, okay.
can't say.
I guess you're generating a lot, so we don't need an additional 2.5 troops a turn. We're making 20. Oh! Oh my goodness.
That's fun.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well played. You know, let him have the bonus. Or let me have the bonus. I'm greedy.
I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting for that bonus.
Yeah, it makes sense. Don't risk the troops.
I don't like all y'all with massive stacks. Makes me all scared. Little Pete. I was in the lead at one point. I want to win, though.
I'm surprised everyone let me hold these bonuses.
Well, they knew they were going to get the smoke if they didn't.
They knew they were going to get the smoke. You're right. Don't blame them.
What is our next? What's our next bullet point, sir? Have we? How far have we made through the list?
May have gotten a third half.
Okay, that sounds good for where we are.
So, how do you make sense of art and music within your worldview? Because, like, I'm getting distracted by this fighting. This is so funny. Oh, man. Yeah, so art and music. Like, it seems to me that your worldview is pretty close to naturalism.
Okay.
Even with a little bit of, like, deism sprinkled in. So it seems a little strange with that worldview to be like, yeah, there's like people enjoy listening to like sounds with patterns, and it gives them like almost a religious experience. It's like, why? How do you square that?
What? Why do we like music?
Yeah, why does it produce a religious experience, a religious-like experience, and what is this dude doing? And like, yeah, like, because from an evolutionary perspective, which it seems like your worldview is pretty similar to that. Like, it doesn't seem to square.
What do you mean?
Well, like, what would cause it? What would cause this? Like, it's not like it's.
Yeah, I wondered this for a while too. I think like I just you're adding in religious experience. The question as I'm taking it is, why do we like music? And my read on that is we like music because, and I read this. I wondered what the reason could have been for a while, but and it might be wrong, but one of the arguments is that we like music because our brains seek pattern recognition. So we find music pleasurable because it satisfies our desire for completion.
I feel like that's kind of weak, though.
In what way?
Because it's like you ever have that experience where you get like goosebumps, and it's like almost religious experience. Like, it's like you're experiencing something truly special. Like, I get pattern recognition, but like, personally, I find that perspective weak, and it doesn't seem to be enough. It seems like it's missing something. Like, I don't know.
Well, when you say truly special, I think you mean more than what I mean when I say truly special, right? You say religious experience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use those terms, right? I'm saying
Yeah.
like music. So the difference of extreme here, and yeah, there we go. All right, GG Sam.
Well played. Dude, line it up to hit me.
It's not very nice. You probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna start.
Hey,
That's not
you took a +6.
fair. Okay, you can have that bonus, but yeah, you gotta stop.
No, do you? Come on. I'm a reasonable man.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Oh! Holy crap.
Man, I'm slow at this game. Crap. I'm probably actually gonna fail, aren't I?
What, fail the kill?
Maybe. I don't know. Actually,
Looks like you got it.
yeah. I'm too good because I
He's too good,
watched the
ladies and
kill
gentlemen.
feed strategy.
He's too good. Oh, my stack! That was funny. Don't hit my other stack and we're fine.
we're fine.
Yeah, we're
What?
fine. Just don't hit it and we'll be fine.
Oh, right. We're
We'll be
fine. Yeah.
You'll get one of these. Just here. How do you like that? How do you like that? Oh no,
Oh,
no! Ah! But my troops though.
Sorry, did you want troops?
No!
Oh, good roll.
That was a great roll. All right, GG.
And I am undefeated against Pete.
He's too good. He's too good, guys. Whatever. Maybe I just get perfect dice.
Perfect dice. And take out my 75 stack with 6.
I didn't actually get perfect dice.
Close.
No. Just keep rolling 6s. Let's go. Ah! My last one was a 2. All right, good game.
GG's. That was a game.
Next time I don't let you hold the +8. Fuck.
Next time, just be even nicer.
I'm very nice.
Be even more passive, please.
You broke his Scandy. What the fuck do I want a fucking +3 for? Get out of here, Scandy. All right. This time we're going to do settings that will not simulate. Progressive?
Yeah.
All right. No?
Sure. Yeah, I'm against fog, so
No fog. Yeah.
no fog.
And folks in chat, if you guys would like to give more people a chance to play, that would be much appreciated. So if you have played today, just sit out and give others a chance. That would be cool for everyone.
Maybe I should usurp Kill Pete strategy as host of your show.
What do you mean?
I'm my lucky to win.
Host away, my friend.
Oh no, I'm not saying host because I don't know how to set it up. I'm talking like your channel. I'm joking. You can set it up.
I have indeed set it up. We were waiting for you.
Oh, you sent me. Okay, so. You're 2 steps ahead of me.
Amen. Here's TV. You got to keep the people interested. They require constant stimulation.
Forget, yes.
One more spot. All are welcome. Except for Cool Tim. He's not welcome. I'm just kidding, Tim. Good luck, guys. So these are settings that I've played many, many, many times. These were my grind settings when I first kind of got good at Risk. And tell me what you think.
Oh, we're on this map. Yeah, this is outside my
Well, if you're truly that
repertoire.
amazing, you'll easily beat us all again, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I'm the best at this game.
The best. All right. So, did we get to a satisfactory answer on music? Oh, you said no.
I mean,
It was very dissatisfactory. Like that's a really
yeah.
weak claim.
To be honest, yeah, I know that's
Oh, hey, man. Honesty is preferred. Okay, so
yeah.
what do you suppose is the reason we appreciate art? What is? I think these are actually similar questions. The words meaning and the words beauty. So,
Yeah, beauty.
one of the ancient philosophy is the mother discipline, right? All sort of sciences have split off from philosophy. So one of the primary categories of philosophy that the ancient Greeks looked at is like they looked at things like metaphysics, right? Questions of reality, epistemology, questions of knowledge, ethics, questions of value, and aesthetics, questions of beauty. So aesthetics isn't often really thought of or talked about as a philosophical discipline anymore, but it was. And when we talk about things being meaningful, there is an overlap there between things being beautiful and things being meaningful. So I almost feel like it's interesting that the two questions came back to back because they, for me, are
Yeah.
somewhat related.
Mm-hmm.
So I answer them in a somewhat the same way, right? Is that for me, meaning and beauty, right? The why we exist is derived from seeking our highest calling in the world, whatever that may be. You know, for me, I am happiest when I'm working hard towards a goal and experiencing success.
Progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's happiness is derived from the incremental progression towards my goals as opposed to the attainment of those goals. And the reason I think about happiness this way is is because the attainment of a goal isn't a stagnant state. So you're never actually there. Or you don't stay there very long, right? You get like I was really into collectibles. I had a collectibles business in the end of high school, right? That was my first company, really. And I noticed that when I finished a collection, the love of the act is gone. So once I noticed that, I almost intentionally never finished. There was always a piece missing in many of my collections, and that's on purpose. And similarly, with Risk, let's say, right? You get that title, you win that award. Like one of the biggest reasons I think we're here having this conversation is I didn't win the very first tournament I played. I got second, which is perfect, right? Which is so ideal for my psychology. It's like, wow, Pete, you did really, really well, but not the best. There's still some more mountain to climb, and I need that. I crave that. So that's how I answer questions of meaning. I think it's very much about just appreciating the gift, the temporary gift of life, you know, for all it is, as opposed to, you know, appreciating beauty in service of God and then hoping to, you know, live eternal with Him in heaven. I can appreciate the beauty of the world now and have to fully appreciate it because I won't have the chance again. And, you know, I think both perspectives are valid. But I obviously come down on the side of our lives being fleeting. And also there's no there's nothing in science that conceptually disproves an afterlife, right? We in fact know that something of our matter cannot be created nor destroyed, right? So something of our material being, persists, and something of our energy in the same way, because E equals mc squared. So your energy and your matter are one. So who knows what of you physically actually persists after you die, beyond just the memory of you and the influence you have on others and their experience of you, or your genetic lineage if you have kids. So there's all sorts of ways in which we live on, but not exactly as ourselves, right?
Well,
hey, thank you, Andre. And
think
thank you, Ramon.
100,000 years from now. Or, sorry, 2 billion years from now.
Distant future. Sure. Yeah.
Like, nothing. It's just like everything is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is so different. I mean, that's one of the only great truths of the universe, is that everything changes. You know, no man steps into the same river twice, Heraclitus.
Yeah.
Because the river is always in flux. But you see what I mean? How you and I see the same thing and kind of just come to opposite conclusions there?
About which specific question?
Well, about these two types of judgments, right? Judgments of meaning and judgments of beauty.
I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of an impasse. It's like, it's really about your perspective.
I mean, one of us will be right.
Oh, well,
if there's an afterlife, you know, we'll know. Or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fun one to think about too.
That is very
So I'm not too adamant about what I believe being the capital T truth, you know. I'm happy to not know. And that's another reason why I think it that's another way in which I think it gives my life meaning, is it motivates me to action. That's actually one of my core motivations, is the recognition of my insignificance, right? Bringing humility, and also the recognition of my temporary nature, right? Motivating me to get as much done with my life as I possibly can. Because I'm naturally a very lazy person. And I think as I've gotten older too, as I've noticed the passage of time speeding up, right? Oh shit, I'm actively dying. Okay, what am I going to do about that? Well, I'm not going to be morbid and sour. I'm going to be very, very motivated to get whatever the hell it is done that I need to get done in this life before it's too late. And it could be too late tomorrow. You know? You never know when your time's up. So why am I going to squander? And that also, I think, cuts back to what I said about, having relatively chronic depression for much of my life. Just, I've spent so much time wallowing in self-pity that I have no more time left for that crap. Right? I've done it. I've sat in it. I've suffered. I know what it feels like. And nothing got done, or at least not enough. And
it almost seems like that perspective is born out of like almost like a utilitarian idea, because it's like, well, it's useful for me to see life as having meaning and doing things because it's inherently meaningful, even if like a billion years from now my actions have zero consequences.
Yeah, but I don't care about a billion years from now.
Why?
Why should I? I care about me. Think about, okay, so the word selfish tends to connote negatively for most people. And I think of selfishness as a market. Like, if everyone in a fair market, assuming the market is fair, which obviously no market is, but assuming a market is fair, if everyone is in honest competition with everyone else and acting honorably and honestly, right? If everyone is just selfish for themselves, then the market actually functions properly. That's the whole theory behind why markets are good and why they are effective at solving the types of problems they solve. Is that rational self-interest, which, gets muddied in the real world. There's a mix. There's altruism. There's, you know, there's also malicious action. But if a fair market consisted of nothing but rational actors, right, it would work perfectly and self-correct. So that is why, you know, if I want to use some sort of ethical rule, I would say it is a good to be selfish and honest about that, and then advocate that everyone else does that as well.
Yeah.
Like, and we can use this to inform how I play Risk, right? I always talk about play to win, you know, play your best game, play to win. I will make deals with opponents, and I will work with opponents up to and including the point where I think it is beneficial to my game, right? And people often joke in my comments, like, because some styles of Risk are more negotiation based than others, and they'll say, "Hey Pete, you were such a bad homie to this guy, right? You turned on him at this moment." I was like, "What do you mean? He got second. That's the best thing he could have ever hoped for."
Yeah.
I'm surely not going to give him the win. That's where I'm coming from. You know, selfishness, but not malicious. I'm here to win a game. You can win too, as long as it doesn't cost me mine. Do you like that? Or are you more altruistic?
Yeah. I mean, I get it, and I struggle with that personally because I personally need a lot more reason to, I mean, I guess live than like kind of like a desire to have a positive experience. I don't know. It to me it seems kind of like shallow. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's just my perspective.
What shallow?
Just like operating based on, like you said, a level of selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if my life wasn't outward focused, then I wouldn't judge life worth living, like personally.
So the thing that makes your life worth living is your ability to be in service to others?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The question I would ask about that worldview is, isn't that arrogant, right? Doesn't that assume that you
Yeah.
somehow know what they want or need?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So you're fine with it being arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I struggle with my own arrogance, and I have for most of my life. So I actively try to construct worldviews that don't lean into my own sort of natural propensity to think I'm, you know, better or smarter or whatever than other people, because I don't know that others think or work this way, but I don't think it's a benefit to me socially. And I don't think it's a benefit to me personally. I think other people, I've learned a lot from other people over the years, and I started learning more when I stopped worrying about what I was trying to tell them and started listening a lot more. Right? When I was younger, I had this, like, all of these grand ideas in my head. I was like, I'm going to fix this problem and this problem. It seems so obvious and easy. Why is everyone else so dumb? And then as soon as I started talking to everyone else about, you know, complex ideas, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Nobody thinks like me. Chances are it might be me who's dumb. And then it's like, well, let's figure out which one is true. And then the reality is it's both. Things are fucked and you're sometimes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay. That's sort of that's where the meaning comes from for me, is right, the process of learning and discovering.
Of course, yeah, the question of um like, is what you're saying worth being said? Um like, obviously, yeah, we talked about it last stream. Like, I've wrestled with it a whole lot. And honestly, like, I think a level of arrogance is allowed and fine if you're not putting yourself above other people. It's more of like understanding your worth and what you're capable of. And I don't think there's something wrong with it. I'm not saying you're positing that,
Mm.
but I've come to kind of accept like, yeah, like I am above average at things, and I don't think recognizing that is 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 a problem. Although I could be wrong. Like, I mean, feel free
Well,
to
so
shoot that down.
I don't shoot it down at all. I fully agree, but I don't think that's inconsistent with what I believe. Right? There is going to be a ton of variability in everything. Right? The world is fundamentally unequal. People are given unequal advantages and disadvantages. That is true. It will always be true. And trying to shoehorn in a worldview of true equality is not only futile, but counterproductive. Every time we've tried it, we've resulted in all sorts of terrible consequences. So it's not something I espouse, right? It's more a question of equality of validity, right? I think every person alive is worthy of their life. I think every person alive has a unique and important and necessary perspective on that whole. So we are all equally valid, despite the fact that we are not equally imbued with ability or power or beauty or intelligence or right. There's all sorts of ways in which we diverge. That's good. That's a good thing.
So let's move
Did
on
you
to another.
skip? When did you skip? Get out of here with the skipping.
Is that a bad idea in this case?
I'm not telling you how to play, sir. You could watch the other 1,000 videos to figure that one out, where I stand on skipping. It worked, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought because, my position is diversified, and also I don't play this mode ever, or I don't play progressive, so,
No?
I really don't understand the danger, even though, well, I understand it, but, I'm, yeah, I'm horrible at this mode.
Okay. He's just going to fart his way into another win, then.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Pangaea is those 2 bonuses on the right.
Yeah.
Usually, we would see people fight over them, but because everyone's being all buddy-buddy, white and blue green and blue just have an advantage.
Yeah.
That's okay. Surely they wouldn't kill the Peatman. They'd kill someone who skipped and went to 5 cards. I'm just kidding. All right, where were we? I don't want to derail you. I'm probably doing it too much.
Nah. Do you believe in good and evil?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, well, so the banality of evil is a big piece. So I don't think that true evil is often intentional. I think far more true evil is the accidental consequence of bad design. And as far as good, you can't conceptualize evil without conceptualizing good. So then that's the Hegelian dialectic, right? Have you ever heard this term? We understand things based on their opposite.
Yeah, I haven't heard the term, but I'm very familiar with the concept.
It's easy to understand. So, the idea of good for me is always relative, right? I don't think there are objective rules, and I don't think even if there were, I don't think we have access to them. Similarly to how I think about reality, right? I do think there is an objective reality, but I don't think we have access to it. We have an imperfect model based on our senses, which give us a limited slice of the electromagnetic spectrum. We see a certain amount of visible light, but not infrared, not ultraviolet. And the way that applies to ethics is, you are the viewpoint, right? In my worldview, you are the piece of the infinite observing itself. So your own determination of what good is has to matter and has to be worth a lot. And you can sort of argue all sorts of crazy cases, like using the trolley problem as an example, or you know, you can say something like it's always wrong to kill children. I actually like using killing children as kind of like my benchmark for any sort of system of ethics. Like if you find that your system is in any way arguing that you kill children, you're probably wrong. But not in all cases, right? There has to be some twisted example that I don't want to get into and I don't really want to dwell on, where that even that as a rule isn't true. You know what I mean? Even baby, there you go. Someone came up with it. Even baby Hitler, right? So there's always cases where you could make an ethical argument, and be like, well, killing baby Hitler might have ended up saving X number of million people. Therefore, right? What is the child as a mass murder? Perfect. So even in those, this is why to me, every sort of ethical rule fails. Right? You have to put it in context, right? And the context is what matters the most, because that's all we are. We are just a viewpoint. We are that limited context. We're that tiny experience. And then you and I finding shared context, right? Sharing this moment together such that we can agree on some of these words, what they mean. That's what we are. That's meaningful to me. I'm loving this, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
Oh boy. That was a real smackerino.
Wow.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Those just for fun, huh? They think we'd do that. Is he trying to get people to kill him?
Game's getting spicy.
All right, so another one. Why is there something as opposed to nothing by your worldview? Explained by your worldview. So I can't really, because I get the understanding of okay, panentheism. God is everything, or the universe is God, but was he gonna fail this kill? Feed it to me.
Don't feed it.
No. Let's go.
No, don't feed it. Stop. No. Don't do it.
I'm gonna win. Even though I don't deserve to. Then the question is, does anyone deserve anything?
Yeah, I don't think in those terms.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke, because yeah. Wait. I am blind. Oh my. I did not see. I just fed the kill.
Don't worry. I wouldn't dream of gloating about my victory. It's okay. I would never do that to you.
Okay.
It's not. I was joking. It's really not my style to gloat.
All right. Crap.
Ah, crap.
I'm so stupid. I
don't think you're stupid. I think you're very smart.
That's tough. All right. You definitely win now.
From here?
By my estimation, whatever it's worth, because I'm not.
From here? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's.
Kill me last, please. Thank you.
No. You don't get rewarded for that.
No. Okay, whatever. Kill me first. Teach me.
Uh-oh. All right, there we go. Yes.
Man, that would have been awesome. 3 wins in a row against Peatman.
I think you were close.
So sad.
But now what do I do?
That sucks. But it's that negative feeling that causes you to improve.
Is it? Do you think you benefit from being hard on yourself?
Well, I mean, when it's actually the impetus for growth. Like if you feel like cruddy after failing something, there's something like rewires in your brain where you like your brain kind of goes into overdrive to improve.
Okay.
It's kind of like putting your muscles into failure to grow them.
I'm wondering if I think about it this way. So I think more realistically, there's both, right? There's positive and negative motivation. And I think it has a lot to do with your personal personality, right? How much you are motivated by positive emotion versus negative emotion. That determines how much something going wrong would motivate you versus maybe just how much you desire the outcome in the first place, right? We have a loss aversion, so we hate losing, right? We definitely hate losing far outside the way we enjoy winning.
Yeah.
Oh no, what is this? This is not the correct play. Oh no! Okay.
Yeah, one thing that I do on the subject, there's this game called Bed Wars in Minecraft, and I went from good to insane within a matter of only like 3 months.
Okay. And how so?
And that's because it's iron sharpens iron. I intentionally played against like the best players I could find constantly within games. Like a lot of these sweaty players, as they're called, these players who try to be really good, they play in a way that like they're trying to get their stats up, so they'll play against crappy players. But then they don't improve.
Right.
And so I've like, even though it is infuriating to try to 1v3 sweaty players, like I've gotten to the point where I can actually successfully win because I've leaned into the suffering in a way.
Sure.
Are you gonna kill everyone?
I don't think I'm gonna kill everyone.
Well, at some point in this game.
I'm going for the win, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's similar to how I would say I got good in Risk is playing with the best people.
Yeah.
And then talking to them, right? Asking them, what, why did you do that? What works, what doesn't work, sort of thing.
Yeah. Just so we don't, I'm going to keep running through the questions.
I love
just
it.
So we
Let's
try to
do it.
cover everything.
So
what is on your mind lately?
Ooh, lately.
It's a non-theological question, or maybe it is a theological question.
It's been on my mind lately. No, definitely not. I've been thinking more about material things. I've been thinking about I want a family. That's what I've been thinking about a lot. So I've been thinking about how to put that together. To do the things that I need to do for me, for my emotional health, for my physical health, on a relationship level with my girl, on a family level at large, on a society level, to just put that foundation in place such that I can afford it, and be in the place where I can, provide ideally that good life that a child deserves.
Deserves.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
I think so. If I could give my child the type of upbringing I had, that would be good enough for me, I would say. I failed that, actually. I fucked that up. Let's try it. Damn it, it doesn't connect. Oh, I can go around, I guess. All right, we're going to try it. I think I fucked that up. Good dice? Nope, bad dice.
GG's.
Hey,
Feed the
I
killing, I guess.
mispathed on Pangea.
Huh.
Well, if he kills them... Let's see how it goes. I die. I think blue wins now. Maybe green. No, blue wins now. Good game, guys. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how do I spend my time right now and over the next couple of years to put myself in the right place too. Like, I've lived in Toronto for, it'll be my 41st birthday this month. So I've lived in Toronto my whole life. There's a lot of good here associated with safety, but it's not the place it was. It's not as free as it was. COVID showed me that. Just the way in which our politics has degenerated over the course of my life has shown me that. Technological things, like how do you raise a kid to not be completely sullied by every single system that is interested in capturing their attention, that has only gotten worse, only gotten more skilled at doing so, right? So yeah, that's what's been on my mind. Is that a fair answer?
No.
Set?
That's
GG, man.
Honestly, that's been on my mind because, technology is just, it's so, it's not in favor of kids' mental health right now.
I don't think it's in favor of anyone's mental health. I don't think we even discuss that all that intelligently on a systems level, right? Yeah. We are in such a material world, and there's conversations like the one you and I are having right now. Our disconnection from our own spirit as humans, our disagreement on what that is too. You and I can't even agree, let alone, try and have an intelligent conversation with people that doesn't get fraught or emotionally charged about this subject, right? There is no integration of the spirit in our culture. It's a bad thing, I'd say.
Too slow.
What is my path to economic stability? Just work all the time. There hasn't been a time in the last 20 years or more where I've just been a serial entrepreneur, right? There hasn't been a time that I couldn't have just worked harder and made more money. And I know that's not everyone's story, but that's always been kind of like my model. I can just be like, well, thankfully I'm working hard right now at something that's also fun. This is a tremendously interesting job that I have right now. You got one more in you?
Yeah, of course.
One more game?
Well, I mean, how much time do you have?
I think let's do one more game. So bring out the heavy hitters, please. Ask the tough questions, sir. I want them all.
I was looking at your live stream because I accidentally clicked off, so I wanted to see how it was going. A viewer said, "How old is Pryor? Let's play guess Pryor's age game." It's a fun elementary type activity.
I think you did say last time, right?
I did.
I don't need to spoil it.
It's fascinating how much it ranges.
People's guesses of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just me, but in general,
when you meet people?
Well,
are you getting in the game, sir?
People are so bad at estimating age.
Why?
I think because people base it on their own age.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, what are your viewers saying? 'Cause I don't have your
We got
what are your viewers?
28, we got 22, we got 69, obviously.
Of
Uh,
course. Classic.
oh no, Sam! Ah,
No.
I'm not restarting. We're playing with a bot. Do you think? But it's not. It's not really that important. How old you
I
are?
agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate the viewers will never know.
Oh, you don't want to tell them again?
No, I don't care.
Ah, good for you. So you said you were thinking of some of the same things?
Well, I was thinking, regarding the technology,
Sure.
one thing that I would pay to have developed is a kind of phone that has a lot of the benefits of like an iPhone, but then it's but it has you can have a lot more control. So I think like I tend to be good at moderating the time spent on my phone using different apps, like you block apps and stuff during certain times.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still like not the best at it. I still fail. I still will do what I don't want to do, and it's like, yeah,
Love you too, guys.
like
Yeah.
a
Well,
hard control is like,
we're all like that. You know, we're all a collection of competing interests.
yeah.
All right. This either goes well or very poorly.
You got it. But there.
High risk, high reward play.
To clarify, the reason why I suggested bot improvements is not because of multiplayer play, but I have sometimes I like to play single player, kind of like because it's a lot less of a time consumption, and it's just never ever even a slight challenge, and so single player is not even just viable at all.
Yeah, I know there's a subset of people who do play an awful lot of single player. So
Right. So here's some more questions. Maybe we should do a little more rapid fire. So do you feel like you're getting significantly better at Risk?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
definitely not. I've reached. I've long since reached the place where. Are you fuck off, bot? High risk, high reward
Ooh,
play indeed.
ooh, that's tough.
Fuck off, bot. I feel like I've long since reached the point where there's ever going to be any sort of epiphany or like new strat or new skill in my gameplay, right? It's all going to come down to very, very slight minor edges.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? Like there's very few sort of achievements that remain. There's very few things I could do to prove my ability to others that I haven't already done. So there really isn't anything left to prove, which is good. But just as far as like a quest to become the best player you can be,
Yeah.
you know, what would I have to do that I haven't already done?
Yeah. Do you think you'll play Risk until the day you die?
No, I think I think the story ends at some point. I think I'll come back to it by request from others at some point, right? I think after my period of time where I'm playing Risk daily is over, which could still be years to come, right? Like right now I have 2 daily shows, so I produce 14 shows a week on Risk. And I produce that happily and willingly. But I think what eventually ends up happening is the game evolves, the community evolves, and where my role in that entire sort of schema, will I be thought of as, a washed former champion? Will I be thought of as a teacher? Will I be thought of as somebody who's moved on to something completely different and doesn't have any time for the game? No, I would say I'll happily come back to it. But I can't see myself being interested in making 14 shows a week for the rest of my life, and I don't think that it would even be viable. Right? I think at some point it stops working, and I'll have to continue to innovate. Either in gaming or in something else. Or maybe not even in video, right? Who knows? Who knows what kind of calls me? I think part of why the content is resonant with other people is my own authenticity. And if I'm not in love with the thing I'm doing, that will show on the screen. So you guys can hear that from me, and you guys can know that when I tell you I love you, I mean it, because I assume you feel it. Right? I'm very, very happy to be here and to work my ass off and to give you as much content as I can right now, because that's what I want to be doing right now. Okay, I'm going to make another 7, just because I want the bot to hit it again. I want the bot to hit 2 of my 7s. We're playing a bit like a masochist this game. Kilted will be staying with us right now. Kilted loses interest in Risk way sooner than I do. He says he's here now. Yeah, he loses interest in Risk before I do, guaranteed. I would put money on that. Comparing it to chess, we still see many retired competitive chess players, usually back as guest competitors or guest commentators. There's always something going on. And you don't put money on things you don't bet. I do bet, but I only bet when I'm sure I'm going to win. And I know you, my friend. I know what you like. He likes chicken wings. All right, what else you got, Isaiah? What else is on the? I want to get through as much of the important stuff, right? The stuff that was like really kind of like bothering you that you didn't get to, or you wanted some clarity to explain.
Honestly, we haven't really gotten into the meat and potatoes yet.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start that. You mentioned you believe in a utilitarian morality structure. So how do you mesh that with determinism? Here's what I mean.
Right.
Chances are, if you shed that belief, you'll live a much more productive life, or at least it would make a difference for me. When we talked about purpose, you essentially said that you don't believe you have a purpose anymore. Somewhere along that, correct me if I'm misunderstanding you, because you believe that the story of your life is already written. So you're not pursuing some vague sense of purpose like I am. However, I've found that the belief of determinism often has direct negative consequences. Many determinist Christians, for example, use it as an excuse to not evangelize, because supposedly God has already decided who will be in his kingdom. Or not necessarily that God decided, but what will happen, inevitably will happen. So when something negative occurs, you're absolved of all responsibility, because it was always going to happen. I think believing in determinism is an extremely detrimental belief if you make decisions with it consciously in mind, because it removes any sense of responsibility of consequence from your actions. I'm not even arguing for or against determinism, but simply that someone is less likely to act pro-socially and morally good while believing it to be true. So that's the main reason I reject it. Like that is I have more reasons, but like to me it seems like a massive cop-out for the consequences of your actions. So like if you're trying to, like, why do you have a fidelity to the truth if maybe shedding that belief would lead you to be more likely to live more pro-socially, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't distinguish between acting pro-socially and acting selfishly. I think both are the same. I think I'm not a psychopath, right? So I don't think that me winning at other people's expense benefits me, right? In order for my win to be a true win for me, it has to benefit me, benefit my friends and family, and benefit the world. Otherwise, it is not ethically correct. So I don't distinguish. This is how I kind of intricate. It's how I integrate my worldview. Right? Is I don't separate myself as an individual person in the way that most people seem to, or in the way that our culture and economy specifically tends to promote. We seem incepted with the expectation that we should separate ourselves from each other, right, into these neat little production and consumption engines that make money and then spend money, and have separate opinions, right? But the way I see, right, the hive mind example you used, right, the way I see humanity actually manifesting is as far more of a collective. Yes, we are often in competition with each other, sometimes for good, sometimes for ill, but the greatest, this is kind of my big philosophical guidepost here. Is like the greatest challenge that faces humanity is the lack of definition, the lack of agreement on the definition of progress, right? We are not, we are going to progress, right? Based on that sort of ecological niche human animal example I stated earlier. We are definitely going to progress towards something. We're going to invent. But we do not have a society that seeks to discuss where we're going. And that's crazy to me, right? That seems insane. That seems like trying to design a car without a blueprint.
Yeah.
So does that kind of answer your questions? Like I use utilitarianism when it is effective, right? And I use other ethical systems when they are the more pragmatic. Like I don't, as we touched on earlier, I don't lead, or rather I don't leave myself strict to any sort of ethical system.
So why do you have an allegiance to what you consider to be truth if other beliefs may yield a better?
Yeah. The way I see truth is I have a far weaker perspective on truth than almost everyone I've ever talked to. I'm a Cartesian skeptic, right? I do not trust my own senses. So when someone tells me they have access to truth, one of the only ways in which we can confidently say something is likely true is by seeing if it is logically coherent. But it's always likely true. It's never, there's no capital T truth in my worldview. I don't believe I have access to it, right? I have a great memory. And even that, I have doubt that the things that I think happened in the past actually happened. I have doubt. I'm just very, very skeptical of everything. But it's not, for me, debilitating. It's useful because I recognize that there are inherently competing interests. Everyone is fighting for my attention. Everyone is fighting for my time, my money, as they're fighting for everyone else's. So taking everything skeptically and critically and saying, right, is this consistent? Right? Does this hold from base principles? Is it logical? And if not, where's the money, right? Who is benefiting? Why am I being told this tale? Why am I being told I'm free to choose between two options that are garbage? That's my favorite basic example, right? Have you heard me talk about politics?
Not really.
So the the example I like to use, it's my favorite, is we're only free to choose the color of dildo that fucks us in the ass, right? We're not free to choose to not get fucked. So don't lie to me and tell me I'm free. Treat me as if I'm a person. If I am free, treat me as if I'm a person that matters.
Yeah.
Did the bot not break you?
Nope, I knew it wouldn't.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, well, now you're losing your position.
Hey, man, +6? It's too much. Something has to be done.
Okay.
Okay. It's like, no, I want that +6. I deserve that +6 when Pete hasn't had a bonus the whole game.
I deserve it.
You do deserve it.
I earned it.
Goes for a +6. The bot's rolling my 7 turn 2.
We're gonna say I'm just a master of
you're just that good.
bot.
That's right.
I'm just that good. The bot just recognizes that he doesn't want the smoke.
That's right. It doesn't want the bot doesn't want the smoke.
Bot doesn't want the smoke.
How's that?
It's evolved.
How's that for an answer though? What do you dislike about that?
I'm not sure it directly answers the question. That's the main thing.
Let me try.
So, would you say that like believing in an objective moral standard is more likely to lead to like a pro-social like actions?
No.
Okay.
I think the fact that moral standards result in pro-social actions has nothing to do with them being objective. It has to do with them being. It has to do with society being cohesive and sharing those ethics. A society could have. My favorite example here is something like the Aztecs, right? Culture is often very, very arbitrary. And you can see extreme examples in something like cultures that have human sacrifice as part of their religion. So for them, it was a moral good to murder the children to appease their gods. Now, we look at that as somewhere between horrific and absurd, right? That's so far outside of our paradigm that it's difficult for us to empathize with the Aztecs as people, right? You think of a religion that would recommend sacrificing their sons and daughters to Quetzalcoatl so that it might rain as somewhere between horrific and absurd, right? We share this opinion?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you say, of course. So, but the Aztecs would try and make a claim. If they were sitting here with us, they would try and make a claim about how appeasing Quetzalcoatl is the objectively correct ethical decision. Because look, otherwise it doesn't rain. We need to rain. Otherwise our crops don't grow and we starve, right? So you can easily see without good science how a shared ethic is the power, whether or not that ethic is objective.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next place my mind goes to is, okay, so it's more about having a cohesive society that results in pro-social action. Like, not sacrificing the children in this example would be anti-social for the Aztecs, right?
Yeah.
And that's fucked, but that's true. So whether or not something is pro-social doesn't really entail much of import to ethics.
Well, I guess
especially to objective ethics.
I was kind of using pro-social as a stand-in, like kind of defining what good action would be.
Okay.
I suppose I kind of screwed up the question a little.
No, I don't think you screwed up the question. I think we are refining it, right? So I think we understand it better now. Like the notion of objective. My short answer to your question is, I don't think there is such a thing as objective morality. And I think every time someone comes up with it, the reason it is so fraught is, oh shit.
Yeah, I knew I was getting killed. I should have set last turn.
But why though? But this isn't even. Okay. Well, GG. Yeah, the every time it comes up, the reason like talking to ethicists is so annoying is I do often feel like they're trying to shoehorn in rules rather than just admit that everyone's viewpoint matters and is very different, right? How do you fit? How do you reconcile differing opinions, basically?
Yeah. I think a better question that's kind of on a similar track is like, okay, so do you agree with me when I say that believing in determinism is often used as kind of a cop out on like the consequences of your actions?
It can be. I can see how it can be. Yeah.
Do you think that it's worth not believing it purely on the merit of its application?
No, I think that you have to think about. This actually is the same answer for me. Is that it is incumbent upon the person to use their conscience, use their best judgment, and decide how they are going to act in a way that is, pro-social, acting with integrity in and of themselves, and so on, right?
Sure. I mean, I mean that is if you place like a lot of priority and value on truth, but yeah, I don't know, it seems like it's
One of the places I'm weird here. So I place value on truth because I think I have access to pretty solid logical process. Right? Like I'm quickly, logic is one of my strengths. So I'm quickly able to figure out if the proposition that I'm engaging with is, a matter of faith or if it is internally consistent, etc. Now, if I take a card, do I die? No. I don't think I do. I got my 10 popped and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, he screwed up that he could have killed you if he would have done a little differently, or at least I think so. I could be wrong because I'm not an expert on this game. I'm not super experienced, so I don't know if he could have killed you, but I think he could have if he would have put
No, but there
all
would be
the
no
extra-
reason to kill me, right? There's no good comes of killing me.
Oh well, I guess yeah, one card. You only have one card.
Yeah. So now I'm dying on 2 because he knows he can kill the other guy in a 1v1.
So you're gonna kill white too.
Green killing you made no sense, right? Green killing you put him on 5 cards and next to die. So that was the whole game, basically.
But I mean, if he didn't kill me, I would have gone around on a killing spree. So I don't know.
You think?
I would have, yeah. Because I was about to set and get a I had several people.
Right, but so. all that play does is make you lose, right? It doesn't make them win. So it's like, as far as free for all theory goes, like, why kill you there? To stop you from winning? That just makes someone else win.
That just shows my lack of experience. I don't know.
No, I'm not. And this is a question that I ponder and I kind of put forth to the audience. Is there's an awful lot of king making in the game. And I think there's an awful lot of errors that occur because you only have, seconds to think. But taking kill, I like to say, as far as prog goes, right? Taking kills just because you can isn't always the play, right? Particularly amongst like players like this, good players who know what they're doing. In public lobbies, it's a shit fest. All sorts of things can happen. Does purple win here? Maybe. Maybe pink has no set on 4? Yeah, pink has no set on 4. Purple can win. Let's see it. It's low likelihood.
Yeah. Let's well, so what time do you have to go? I think you answered that question before, but I don't think I was listening.
Well, we got 2.5 hours, so I could do one more if you're still.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You still really would like.
All right, so let's do. This is a big one. So the way you lost faith in Scripture.
Sure.
As authoritative. So you recounted the story of Abraham's call from God to sacrifice Isaac as the reason that you lost faith in Scripture as authoritative, and subsequently stopped adhering to Judaism. In my understanding, the reason you provided is that you can't believe that a perfectly good being would make Abraham show his faith in a seemingly horrible way of trying to murder his own son. I get your perspective, but I think it was a big jump to your conclusion. Probably too big of a jump of like casting it aside completely. So I responded to your questioning sorry, I was like, well, isn't that like resentment towards God? Because it seemed like an emotive argument, and then you said that it's more so like an internal inconsistency with Scripture, or at least what you view to be an internal inconsistency. And so after I provide my perspective, I would like you to expand upon that.
Sure.
But I assume it's a problem with God making such a command to Abraham while remaining perfectly good. So here's 3.
No, that's not the problem.
No. Okay. What is it?
We touched on it earlier. It's that something truly omnipotent would have no interest in the opinions of something less than itself, right? So if you see that as emotive, sure. I'm trying to empathize with an infinite good God, and I'm trying to think, what would they care about? What would they want? And it doesn't seem like they would give a shit about Abraham's faith. It makes no sense for them to give a shit about Abraham's faith, right? So the fact that God is modeled off of the writer's mind, the person in the writer's mind who they think God would be, as opposed to what an actual infinite being would care about. The small-minded person writing the Bible would say this is a show of faith. But for
Not
me,
necessarily.
oh well, okay,
We'll get to that. But
yeah, okay. But for me, I look at it as what kind of pathetic loser God must be if they require that. And I can't conceptualize a God that's that small, weak, and pathetic. And because of that, I come to this conclusion.
So yeah, the beginning of what you're
right,
saying, it does
final
seem
game.
like yeah. So where's yes, let me go. There we go. It does seem to me that I mean it does seem a little strange to assert that like God won't, because of his infinite, won't care about like us to a significant degree, because it seems like that's what it boils down to. And I think that's like, I can't, obviously I'm not going to agree with that supposition, but it's like, who are you to say, honestly, who are you to say like what
fair enough.
God would care about?
The solid criticism. How could I know?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it is a motive. Sure. Maybe I think about that and I go, wow, what a loser. How could I possibly want to worship that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's some stuff I've written up, like kind of responses to that. There's three potential responses. So within Judaism and other monotheistic religions, morality is decided or based on God. So anything that God does is inherently moral. Now, this is a point of contention, but I would posit this.
Okay.
While you may assert that God in the story is pathetic for commanding Abraham to sacrifice his son, that's by your own human standard. So
Yes.
what authority would you have to condemn the creator of the universe, who knows all,
Sure.
and decides morality?
Sure.
Or it's based on him.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
that's circular.
in elaborate, please.
If everything that God does is good, then there really isn't anything else to say, right? It is a tautology. Everything is the thing that is defined by itself. Everything God does is good, therefore only goodness can come from God.
Yeah.
And it is not useful to talk about ethics in any sort of, outside of that paradigm. So we already have to accept the paradigm, which I don't.
Yeah.
So it's circular.
Okay.
Yeah.
So within the lens of Christianity or Judaism, is there like a theological reason that you'd reject that paradigm?
What do you mean theological reason?
Because it seems to be that it's like, well, I don't agree with that, so I'm just going to reject it. Like, not necessarily like an argument that disproves that it would be the case.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about proof, right? I will never be able to provide you with any standard of proof.
Yeah.
The entire sort of line of conversation is that makes it impossible, right? These are simply questions of faith.
Yeah. So, the second kind of response that people would have, bro, don't hit my dog. I'll move it. Oh, actually, wait, my thing's not in this bonus. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Florida. Florida's not part of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I don't play this map, man.
I love this map. This is a great map.
Well, I just haven't played much, so my diversity of play is minimal.
We're expanding your horizons.
Yes, it's like trying a new food, trying a new risk map. Both tasty.
All right, anyways. I don't want to talk past each other here. So what I'm hearing you say is, the reason I am being too hasty in using that example of the binding of Isaac for sacrifice as a place in which I lost faith is because I want to understand what you're saying. Is because I am failing to empathize with God because I couldn't possibly, because he's infinite. And I think that's a fair criticism, but the standard by which I judge the rules that I am given is a fairly disagreeable standard, right? I think about... I would like to be treated as a person with agency. I would like to be treated like my opinion matters. And if my opinion matters, I would like to be given rules that make sense. And only then can I respect not only the rules, but the people giving them.
Okay. Gotcha. So I have something that will, or the third response is probably the one that best addresses that. But so the second one is, I wouldn't agree with this point that I'm about to make, but a lot of people would counter and say that the story is purely symbolic and non-literal. It's just supposed to pose a point.
Sure.
And it's like, so what you perceive to be a contradiction is just like, it's a literary piece. Like, it's
okay, then write a better story. But that's fine, right? I'm open to that. I'm totally open to that. In fact, I think I demand rule. If you presume to have the authority to give me rules, then I absolutely demand as a minimum standard, that those rules are coherent. Right? They have to make sense. And I would never ask the killing of children, right? I would never ask someone under the guise of goodness or any other reason to murder their son, their beloved son. It seems so absurd. Right? That's why we use the example of the Aztec human sacrifice as the, furthest thing we could imagine being pro-social, and yet for them it was.
Yeah, so that I'm glad you phrased it that way, because you just open it up to the third point, which I believe addresses that really well.
Let's do it.
So you said that a God who would command Abraham to sacrifice his son is pathetic. Here's why I think it's the opposite. The demonstration of his goodness. God never intended for him to actually sacrifice his son. Rather, he was trying to make a point. The story is extremely profound because it's a microcosm of the meta-narrative of the Bible. The consequence of sin is our death. So someone has to die for us to escape righteous judgment. At that time, it was like animal sacrifice covers up your sin kind of temporarily. In this case, Isaac was the standard sacrifice. And the fact that it's so disturbing for God to command Abraham to sacrifice his only son gives weight to the fact that God instead sent his own son. And it's symbolic of, like, God providing a sacrifice in our stead as we deserve to die, as we're like all metaphorical sons of Abraham. So we assume that the ram caught in the thicket is the replacement sacrifice, but it's Jesus. So considering this, I would sooner count the story as symbolic and like representing like a broader idea than like cast it aside as nonsense. It's like, to me, that would be like lighting the Mona Lisa on fire because you think she's ugly. It's like, you're right to have that opinion, but throwing away and destroying the whole piece is not called for.
There is very, very many competitors for this worldview, right? So why is this worldview that I happen to have been, born into the tradition of, right? I'm not even, I was never raised religious, but I went to Hebrew school and I learned Jewish history and some religion. Why is this the one? By what standard am I using to determine that this is the one that resonates with me, that I would like to dedicate my worldview to, that I would like to preach and proselytize for and fly the flag of, versus any other? So if it is merely symbolic, right, that seems like the that again seems like self-justifying, right? It's like, well, if you believe this, right, then you'll give the shitty quality narrative a pass. And sure, I understand why a lot of people would, but if it's merely symbolic, then try harder. There's other books to read. There's other television to watch. Ideas rise and fall on their own merit. I would argue that part of the reason why Christianity is losing adherents currently is they are failing to adapt to the modern world, right? They are holding on to, and that is not to burn it. That's not to throw it out, right? I think there's a tremendous amount of good that has come and will continue to come from these books. Right? The Judeo-Christian tradition informing the ethics of Western society and everything that Western society is built, right? So please don't misunderstand me when I, right, in any way am suggesting that we throw all of this out. It was just, for me, enough doubt to open the door in my mind to other possibilities. Right? I cannot believe blindly.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's necessarily like a proper, because the question here is about like the impetus for throwing away, I suppose, the baby with the bathwater.
Mm.
And it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that your response is, well, I mean, there are other babies out there, I suppose. And it's like,
Yes,
well, who
yes.
cares
In
about this one?
choosing exactly, in choosing this one, I throw out all others. So what is it about this one? If this one cannot hold itself together, you know, if this worldview is not coherent, um, and this is a pretty big hole, right? We have to, in order to shoehorn it in, we have to say it's symbolic. Well, then fair enough. There's all sorts of other religions with all sorts of other symbolisms. Why not one of those? And there's so many.
The thing is to count it as like a flaw, I think that is a bold claim to make.
Mm.
Um,
Well, it just didn't speak to me.
what do you
Sorry,
mean? So like,
so it's a flaw. It's not a flaw for you, right? It's not a deal breaker for you. This wasn't enough for you to say, "Oh, this is bullshit. Therefore, I'm never gonna walk this road." Right? You bought in. Can you recall why you bought in, or was it just always an expectation? I think
well, I
maybe
mean,
maybe our burden of proof is different.
of course, I grew up with Christianity, and I've always understood it. I mean, I'd say at a deep level, because I went to a rigorous Christian school, like in elementary and up to middle school, and so I've always had a firm grasp of theology, and so it's always made sense to me. And of course, it's you grow up to believing something, and of course it's going to make sense to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of elucidating my point, right? The burden of proof for me is why this, not that, and the burden of proof for you is why not this.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay,
that's a whole other discussion.
I don't think it is. I think that's exactly the meat of what you're trying to ask me about right now.
How so?
Well, I had no expectation that I must be a person of faith.
Okay.
So when a story caused me to question this particular faith, I did. Whereas I would say you had an expectation that you were a person of faith. So you have a naturally more empathetic take to the story and are
Yeah.
willing to, gloss over an inconsistency and say it's symbolic. And it is symbolic. And I get in the way in which it is symbolic. I hear you. I
Well, I think
understand
it's
the value.
literal,
I
too.
understand the value of okay. I understand the value of sacrifice. There's a way that story could have been told to me that didn't involve murdering a child or even threatening to murder a child.
How
Right?
would you communicate the same point of like a stand-in for a sacrifice that's like more PG that has
I
the
like
same
that
way?
it's PG. Um, Something about the value of hard work, right? Abraham suffered. Um, his wife was barren, right? And he prayed for a child for years. He was quite old, as far as the story goes, before he was gifted a son by God. And I think all of that just goes to show how precious Isaac was, conceptually and then actually. And then that demonstration of faith, that demonstration of blind faith, at least from my viewpoint. I don't want to live in a world where people have blind faith, right? One of my greatest one of my highest virtues is that of skepticism, right? So I want a world in which where faith is informed, questioned, criticized, analyzed, and the garbage is continually thrown out. Faith is cleansed, right? consistently purified. I feel like that is where these stories do us a disservice, right? When we follow them blindly, we're not holding them to a rigorous enough standard to update them over time, which is why some of them fall out of fashion. Whereas if we did have an ethic of, purifying and criticizing the belief from time to time and saying, why do we believe this? What is true? What is false? We might actually get further in a conversation about integrating all human spirituality in a way that is pragmatic and is utilitarian.
So what's blind about Abraham's faith in this story?
The only thing that would make a person wrap up their child for sacrifice would be the command of God, right? You would have to be so sure. You'd have to believe so fully. That was the right thing to do. And that shocks me. Is it meant to be shocking?
Yeah, I think so. I think it communicates a point. I think all of this, like the same reason that disturbed you is the same reason the story has so much like value and the why it occurred the way it did. Because to me that just tells me, dang, God loves us that much that like here's a story like this, I guess allegory. I don't know if that's the right word in this situation. But this like shows us like he experienced the same pain and like the same struggle. So to me, it's a wonderful story. So I know you struggle with it, but I think it's awesome.
Okay. Have I at least answered your question sufficiently?
I suppose so. I mean,
I'm not expecting to agree, right? But
yeah.
Is there more confusion? Is there something that I'm saying that is incoherent or not consistent with the truth as far as you can tell?
Well, okay, so you said that it's like let me do my turn real quick actually.
Yep.
Let me think. Man, I can't really do what I want to do. All right, I'm gonna go for it because I am like so behind.
We're worried about death.
Good rolls, please. Good rolls. Nope, I have already failed. Let's quit while I'm behind. I see. I don't play this mode. I'm horrible. I was gonna try to kill him, but I realized that I just don't have the material.
Yeah, those twos defend decently.
Yeah. Well, maybe someone else will kill him now. Maybe
It's always a hope, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so like I feel like the main thing that you're pointing out, other than like, well, for me to accept this, I would have to accept its merit or like, well, here's what I mean. Is he lining up to kill me or something? I think so. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely dead. GG's. But like, what is the internal consistency? Because you mentioned how it's like, I believe you mentioned that it's internally consistent with scripture, like the story. So if I'm right, what would that be?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Like how I feel like you said that the story of Isaac and Abraham is internally consistent in the sense that like I mean, it cast aside your trust in scripture. And so outside of it being like, well, I didn't like that story, um I did you mention that it was internally consistent, I believe?
This story? Well,
Yeah.
the inconsistency I have with it is, right, what we've hammered on about how, why does God care? And you
Oh.
make a valid counterpoint that, for me to even presume what God cares about is a bit of a fallacy, and fair enough. But that's my issue with it. I can't see why God would care.
White does. No. Okay. He could have almost killed White, I think. Now I die.
You?
Oh, I have one card. Never mind. Maybe not.
Nobody's killing you.
Huh. So I guess maybe using up my cards wasn't the worst idea.
Oh, it definitely keeps you off the chopping block for a while.
Looks like he's lining up. No, actually no, because he would have to hit through his own territory. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I suppose we tidied that up. It's like it's not exactly about, say, like a problem of evil type question where it's like, well, scripture contradicts itself here, but that you don't trust that God would care enough to like
it seems inconsistent in the sense that I can maybe it's just fundamental to like that piece of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Why how do I succinctly ask the question I'm trying to ask? Why would God care about my actions? Why does God care about my actions? I guess that's the simplest way I could ask that question. And I don't believe that both things can be true, right? I don't believe that God can both be omnipotent, omniscient, good, and have agency, and also care about how I behave.
It's a problem of evil.
Is that how you see it? You see it as a problem of evil question?
I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems like it.
Okay. Yeah, man. That's it. That's how I think about it.
Okay, so another thing. So it seems like you really don't like you really value your ability to think on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way you phrased it is like I believe something along the lines of, I don't like scripture because or religion because it tells me what to think. I guess because it posits itself as true. So it seems to me that it's almost taking away your ability to choose what to think, which I don't really
against
understand.
free will. That's incompatible with free will, or with determinism, rather.
It's incompatible with determinism. How so?
Well, no, sorry. Please ask your question. I don't want to answer not your question. I want to answer your question.
Well, I mean, it kind of is. I mean that lands squarely in what I'm asking, I think. So, like, why is that? Why is religion incompatible with determinism? There are a lot of Christian determinists.
No, I don't. That's not what I'm saying. Ask your question.
So it's basically like you seem to think that like scripture asserting itself as truth is taking away your choice of deciding what's true for yourself. Would you say this is accurate, and why? If not, can you explain what you meant?
Yes. Okay. So I don't believe it is appropriate for anyone's opinion to determine what is true for me, other than mine.
Okay. So
That's
wouldn't
the
any
principle.
sort of truth assert itself as like
Exactly. If truth is truth, then it doesn't care about any person's opinion. Otherwise, it's not truth. So the fact that different religious traditions insist upon themselves in the same consistent way is a tell for me. It's like if they were just objectively the truth, they wouldn't push so hard. They wouldn't need to. They would be able to stand on their own merits because they would happen to be true. So the indication to me is that it is the opposite, is that Scripture is not true. And that is the very real and obvious reason it is not true is because of how hard they have to try to convince anyone that it is.
Who's they?
Any religious tradition. Right?
Of course, I can't.
I don't discriminate between religious traditions. I think they're all untrue in the same way.
Of course, I'd agree, except for Christianity.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. No, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Of course you would. Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, I can't vouch for other. Well, I wouldn't consider Christianity a religion in that same sense that you're talking about, like the reason you don't like religion. Here's that. I actually have a whole section for that. Let me tell you why I think that Christianity doesn't tell you what to think. And then the whole thing about religion. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, let's just okay.
Hey, Burger. What's up, man?
Like, all right. Okay, so choice is core to Christianity, and so this is kind of like the main point.
Yes.
Is, like it's never like, oh, you must believe this. It's like, okay, you have a choice. Like the whole reason why evil exists is because Black's killing me. Great, GG's.
Oh no, this is good for Sam.
Yeah, I was screwed the whole time. Like I didn't have a bonus, and I was just falling behind. But yeah, choice. Right. Choice is core to Christianity. It doesn't tell you that you must accept anything. It's just like you accept the gift of eternal salvation, or sorry, of eternal life, or you don't. It's like, right. So let me continue with what I wrote. So of course, every way of thinking, like even you supposing that like what you say is true or what you believe to be true, like that's like everything asserts itself as truth, or most every system of thinking. So yeah, as I mentioned before, like in Scripture, believing that God exists is not even a virtue. It's like you believe that there is one God, good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. And I think what you don't like about religion is not necessarily that it tells you what to think or that it posits truth, but that it's that truth that's posited is used to control people often and cause them to think dogmatically, squash critical thinking, because doubt and dissension are often villainized within religions. So there are two responses to this. One, as I said, I can't vouch for other systems of thought, but doubt is encouraged within Christianity. I know I said that so many times, I wrote it too much. The Book of Lamentations in the Hebrew Bible and Old Testament is quite literally dedicated to doubts and anger towards God because of the destruction of Jerusalem. The biblical character of Jacob is also glorified for wrestling with God, which is part of the motif within Scripture of growing the strength of your faith and beliefs through challenging it. Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So, like, Christianity does not require dogmatic thinking. In fact, it's like, it doesn't value that in any sort of way. You going for the green kill.
Yeah. It's gonna be a tough one, though. Very close kill.
Good dice. Oh. Jeez. You got it, though. Yeah.
GG, Chad. Sorry, I might have lost you there. I was focused.
Yeah, I'll continue after your turn because I'm invested. Bro.
No, definitely.
Yeah. Very nice. Right. So Christianity, like a big part about being a believer, is actually sharpening your beliefs. It's conversations like these where you're you seek out opposing ways of thinking. So, um, so then you grow. Um, yeah, a lot of Christians don't do this, so then they like deconvert the moment their beliefs are challenged because they're weak in their faith. I don't have respect.
You don't have time. You don't have time. You're gonna throw. Don't do it, Sam. You're gonna throw. You're gonna throw the game. He's throwing. He's throwing the game.
Yeah, he does not have time. What is he doing? But actually, he might.
Very nice kill. Good job.
Hopefully.
Very nice kill.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to kill Chad, otherwise I was out of this game anyways. But that was definitely worth doing.
Very cool.
Prog's fun at the high levels, right? There's a lot of sort of tricky stuff you can pull off at the right time.
Good roll.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could see how it could be fun if you're good.
This is what I spent the most time on when I was starting out. It doesn't work anymore. I think the success of YouTube has ruined it in a real way. Maybe they could design the ranking system to account for that, but that doesn't seem to be all that interesting to them. So this is why we end up playing caps now, right? The best Risk players don't even play Risk. They play caps. At least according to the ranking system. All right, Isaiah, I know we could go on infinitely, but I would like you to end the conversation with me feeling satisfied. So how about we go to our last question, whatever you want to ask me, but give me the thing that you really, really, really want to get to.
All right. Okay. So we could definitely. I have let's see, a couple other large sections, but we could save that for something else, or I don't know. Let me finish this whole thing of like why I don't think Christianity doesn't tell you what to think, and then
Sure.
and then we'll wrap it up. So the second point is many Christians, including myself, argue that Christianity isn't even a religion. Of course, it all depends on your definition. So something could be like, so the definition could be like, religion is a system of beliefs or a code of moral conduct that judges a person based on their adherence and obedience to certain codes, rules, laws, traditions, often posited by a god or deity. In Hinduism, that's karma. In Islam, that's adherence to the Quran. Even in Buddhism, a non-theistic religion, it's about achieving enlightenment. In Taoism, it's about achieving oneness with the Tao. And Judaism, it's obedience to the Torah. So, GG's.
Yep, GG, man.
Within Christianity, it's completely different. It's not us reaching up to God, it's God reaching down to man. It's not through our own works. It is through so like we're not called necessarily to like a system of action. Rather, it's like it's a relationship. So that's why I'd say whatever. So it's you're not like giving up your freedom by any means, especially freedom of thought. So what are your thoughts on that?
Freedom of thought. Give me one more time.
Yeah, so since Christianity is so much about choice and it's a relationship, and it's not it's not a system of like do's or don'ts. It's it doesn't like control you or tell you what to think. In a way, it does inform your actions, obviously, like any system of thought, because we're called to Christians are called to live life like love God and love others as yourself. And there's like a whole cascade of things that come from that. But it's not necessarily about the action, it's about like the relationship with God.
Sure. So the question.
So the question is like, would that really be controlling what you think? Like, or does any system, is there any system of thought that doesn't control what you think?
Yeah, exactly. I'm against all systems of thought, basically. I don't like ideology. I think if something is true and it holds logically, then it is true based on its own merits. And once a system of thought um, builds up around any sort of revealed or discovered truth, you end up with bad incentives, bad actors, greed, human frailty, and malicious. It's mental parasitism, right? I think ideologies are a type of mental parasite, right? And I think if we, as a culture, had more of an ethic of um, exaltation of logic and deriving truth from deriving, deducing, or inducing truth, um, and throwing out things that do not hold that type of scrutiny, rather than this guy 1,000 years ago said this thing, therefore I believe it, we would end up in a better place. That's kind of
So
my
what
answer to
keeps
the
that
question.
from being an ideology?
Well, I don't think things like logic and math are invented. I think they are discovered. I think that's the difference, right? The scientific method, um, the fact that it is a method of falsifiability, right? That we never actually get to truth, but we have a methodology for figuring out what isn't, is the best minimum we can have. So it is an operating principle, given that it's. I like the political example again, right? It's like, do you want to be free to choose? Do you actually think we're worthy? You know, I have a more optimistic view on humanity than I would say religious people do. I think religious people look at humanity as needing salvation, whereas I would like to hope that we could integrate the spiritual, but also aspire to actually choose for ourselves without requiring. Children need this. Children need ideology. Children need ethical rules because they don't know anything. Right? They're starting from nothing, no knowledge.
Hmm.
But I would like to hope that I am not a child. I would like to hope that one day I grow up and I see society grow up with me.
Do you see that as an actual possibility that
Yeah,
people on the masses?
yeah, yeah. I think,
Interesting.
and the reason I see that as an actual possibility is I don't spend a lot of time in the alternative, right? The way I often put it is, if we are doomed, then we are doomed. Doesn't do me any good to think about it. There's nothing I can do about that. So I'm going to spend time. It's the utilitarian / pragmatic approach, right? How I like to live my life there. Um, I'm going to spend time thinking about what I actually have agency over, what I actually can do something about. I'm going to aspire to be the best version of myself I can be. And I'm going to aspire to leave the world a little bit better than I found it, but with the recognition that I'm also flawed and shitty, and I get angry, and I can be greedy, and I can be arrogant, and so and so are you, and we're all like that, and that's okay. That's real. That's true to me, right?
So if you agree that people can be flawed and arrogant and greedy, and uh, and that may lead to antisocial behavior or bad behavior,
Yep.
then how would that work en masse for people to kind of be their own god and invent their own morality and just like decide what good
Well,
is?
we already are, and we already do, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's where we.
I can be self justifying about that too, right? I think that's where we
Yeah.
are. I think that's actually how it is. And I would love to go on and on and on, but we've now done 3 hours, so I can't. But thank you for reaching out
Yeah.
to me a second time. I do enjoy this, and I get the sense that you do too, right? And
Yeah.
I truly admire you, Isaiah, because of how hard it is to have a conversation with someone who maybe you not only disagree with, but who is actively challenging and criticizing your worldview and things that you hold dear, you know? But you've done an amazing job of being both respectful and interesting. And I know this type of content doesn't appeal to my broad audience, but I do feel like the subset of people that it does appeal to like it a lot. So my sincere thanks to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to you too.
Oh yeah.
It's
All right.
Really fun conversation.
Isn't it?
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to get off the air. I'm going to do an intro. I'm going to do an outro and maybe do a karaoke if someone has one. But I hope you have yourself a great day, man.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Okay. You well. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our second conversation with Isaiah Pryor. You can check him out on YouTube. I know he's not necessarily looking for that. I think he was more interested in just honest inquiry, right? Which is so rare to have a conversation with someone who does have a strong opinion, but also isn't really selling it to you. At least I didn't feel like he was preaching all that hard. You must sing, Pete, I shall. You going to leave the rating to JJ? Because then I got to leave stream. You want to go on, Zango? Are you offering to go on? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Great conversation. I'm also shout out to chat. You guys did a great job of being super respectful. I love you. I appreciate you. And for all of you on the path to world domination, good games and good luck.